Well, easy to accuse someone of something or looking at them and go, oh, he's taking something, because they only see the end result. They don't see the journey. They don't see the 9 years of training 5 to 6 days a week, dieting every week. And if you're given that much time, you will achieve it.
What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about Marino Katsouris and his pretty recent body transformation he posted and the claim that it was completely natural. I'm going to be going through it with you guys, show you if there's any red flags in my opinion, and if I think it's naturally achievable for somebody with above average genetics or not. So you go to this guy's Instagram and you look through it, you can start to get a pretty clear idea of this guy's commitment to maintaining this body composition year round. He doesn't really fluctuate a lot and he looks insane. Like, this guy is pretty much the physical embodiment of like the ideal male physique to mainstream. Like, he's not a massive bodybuilder, but for most people this is big enough, and he maintains that size with simultaneous leanness. He has deep ab cuts year round. The guy doesn't fluctuate significantly, but what would you need to? He already is jacked and shredded at the same time, and he looks insane. Like, he has good muscle inserts, he has great size, like I mentioned, as well as great, obviously great adherence to a relatively strict diet model, I would imagine, to maintain this body composition. So definitely a lot of work ethic on his end, as well as a combination of very good genetics. So going back to his natural transformation, this is what he posted in February, which is largely what is going to set the stage for the timeline of what he achieved and the time frame he did it, if it was naturally achievable or not. And then there's some reference material after that that I'm going to get into, which pretty much solidifies my stance on it, in my opinion. So he basically delves in here and starts at the very beginning of his lifting career.
I started back when I was 16 years old. Honestly, I was pretty much your run-of-the-mill skinny guy. Funny, because that year when I turned 16, I was actually skinnier than when I was 15 or 14. So quite funny. I used to think, I always wanted abs, I always wanted to look good, and I used to fascinate over the Men's Health like magazines. I used to, back in the day when it was like Rob Riches, and on the covers and all these guys, and I used to look at them and think, oh my god, I want to look like that.
So as you can see, his baseline here is, nothing special. He's not, like a Jeff Side or something where he's already like striking distance of stepping on a men's physique stage at, 16 years old. He has very, very average looking genetics, and he is not, somebody who you would presume to pack on muscle extremely easily, nor is he even lean in this. He's just your very, run-of-the-mill standard skinny dude with not even visible abs yet. And you would be, most people are going to have a hard time believing he went from this to what he currently looks like now. He goes on to elaborate on his progress from thereafter and how the majority of it was picked up during the first few years and kind of his progression through that point.
Honestly, I think that like year didn't do me great. I probably would have been taller. I'm just under 6 foot now. I'm 181 centimeters. I reckon. I mean, look at the size of these wrists. I think I should have at least been 6'1" or 6'2". But anyway, that's all speculation. I don't know if that's true. But yeah, it just wasn't good. And once I gained control, I actually stopped the gym after that. I gained control of my diet. I realized what I was doing wrong. And then I started 2011. I think it was December 2011. For my birthday, because my birthday's in December, I got myself for my birthday I got a gym membership, and I started going with my best friend of now 21 years, Tom, and we used to go like 4 times a week. No leg days yet, no leg days. But yeah, we do the whole things, and I could barely bench the bar. I remember going into the gym, right, and not being able to shoulder press 6 kilos.
I can definitely relate to this. When I first started going to the gym, I couldn't even bench press the bar at all. I would have to use really light dumbbells. My muscle imbalance was crazy, and I had to use the Smith machine even to do a basic barbell bench press because I couldn't even support 45 pounds over top of me. And I had a similar body composition too, so I can sort of relate to this guy's story here. And his progression is not that much different than mine, to be honest, after I go through this video. And I'm about to go through the details of it with you, but I have seen this once, and getting to the nitty gritty now, he starts to delve into how his progress really started.
I just kept going, and going through to 2012, into 2013, I went on a few holidays with my mates in the summer. First one was Falaraki in Greece, typical lads holiday. I had a bit of size, I was bigger than the average. How old was I? Like 16, 17-year-old then. I think I was 17. I was bigger than your average 17-year-old. And then it got to 2013. We went to Zante, and and that's when I actually did like my first cut. I was 18. I was like, I'm gonna do a proper shred instead of just eating as much as I could, which I was doing previously. I mean, I always kept it fairly lean because I still had that problem with overeating, and I always wanted to stay lean. So throughout my lifting career, I never really did a serious bulk.
So looking at this guy as he progresses, he's only been in the gym a couple of years, and he already, we can see why he looks the way he does now. This guy has great genetics. As a teenager, you'll be hard pressed to find very few guys with a full six-pack and size at the same time. He looks pretty damn good here. A lot of people would strive to achieve this. I like that, as a natural at the end of everything. Most people would take years to achieve this, to be honest, and most people at your gym still don't look like this. And this guy has achieved this within just a couple of years. So it sort of sets the stage a bit for knowing this guy does have very good genetics, and we do have to give him that.
Going forward, it was good fun. I noticed people started noticing I was bigger. And I was training 6 days a week, 5 days a week, before these holidays, and I was really, really enjoying it. And that was 2013, 2012. Then we got to 2014. I started working as a personal trainer. I got my qualifications. Still, all the way through this, I'm training like 5 days a week minimum.
So by this point, he's already packed on the majority of his newbie gains, and he has, achieved a great physique. This guy is, undoubtedly a physique most people would strive to achieve even after a decade of training, let alone within his first couple of years. We can see here, he's already achieved the, good size with simultaneous cuts. He has very good genetics.
But going through to 2014, just training every day, and I was living a great life. I loved it. It was really good fun. Made some good friends, and I really enjoyed that. Did a lot of festivals through 2014, and then 2015, my shape didn't really change. I'd say 2014 was probably so I started off fairly, not bulky, but my diet wasn't as strict, and then when I started in the gym, I just really honed in my diet. I got really, really lean, and I was just lean, because your PT is a very high activity job, so I got really lean. And then going through to 2015, I went to Tomorrowland, did some really cool things, but during this time my physique didn't really change. I was pretty level, it was in good shape.
He goes on to elaborate his progression throughout, gaining weight, losing weight, cutting for events and festivals and whatnot, not really doing any dedicated bulking phases, though, until he decided he wanted to do a men's physique show, where he did his first supposedly proper bulk and just gained as much weight as possible. And he got up as high as 100 kilograms, around 220-ish pounds. And it was obviously a lot softer, but gained a significant amount of size and strength. He, shows some of his best lifts. He got up to benching upwards of what appears to be 3.5 plates for a handful of reps, and he did a very intense cut for this men's physique show, where he ended up cutting all the fluff off and then stepping on stage against somebody that a lot of people would probably recognize is Andrei Deiu. So this was Andrei's, I don't know if he won his pro card at the show or not, or it qualified him in order to do a pro qualifier. But anyways, this show in particular is kind of what set off the biggest red flag for me. So not only was the progression to date, he achieved a very insane physique, obviously, and he already had great genetics to begin with. There's nothing, you can't take that away from him. If you look at him on stage, he has good fullness, good size. He's had good muscle insertions from the start, even despite his, baseline looking nothing impressive, he developed pretty quickly from responding to just training in general. Like, he had a very good response to hitting the gym, more so than your average person, top 1% easily. And you see him on stage and he looks awesome. And he's in the muscular men's physique category. I guess in the UK, the categories are a bit different, where you have, like men's physique and then muscular men's physique or something like that. But he's competing against Andrei Deiu here in, not that long ago, to be honest. Like, Andrei's much bigger now, but again, Andrei is no stranger to the gear. Anytime he's been interviewed, he's not been, shy to really divert away from the question in a kind of a clever way without having to say outright. But he basically says, anytime somebody brings up, have you taken gear? He basically says, who hasn't?
Are you natural?
Who's natural in the industry?
That's honestly probably the best answer we've gotten from anyone in any expo we've ever attended.
Of course, they're not going to claim, yeah, I'm natural or I'm not. Like, you can promote this social media,
Yep.
But no one is going to say on social media, yeah, I'm taking this, I'm taking that.
So January 30th, 2019, I don't know what show this was at, but this wasn't that long after that show where Andrei competed against Marino and beat him in that show. And I think it's pretty safe to say Andrei was on gear at that show. If you look at his progression from 2014 at his first show, going forward to his subsequent shows and the amount of size he gained and the rate at which he gained after the first few years when he started really exploding and working with Hani Rambod and whatnot, the guy's admittedly, without actually saying it technically, on gear. And he definitely, in my opinion, was on something at that 2017 show where he showed up and competed against Marino and he beat him and got first place. But Marino's bigger than Andrei at this show. Perhaps he doesn't have as good of genetics as Andrei, but they're pretty damn good. His back is severely lagging compared to Andrei, but the rest of him from the front, honestly, he looks better. He's not as good at posing, and his back, just, there's no way he could have competed against Andrei, but he's honestly bigger. And there's, some people would argue that he should have even placed higher at this show.
That really put me off, and it took me a long time to regulate my body, because I was doing this all natural, and it's hard for everything, doing a big cut and not implementing refeeds, not managing your hormones, because on an average cut, and when you go into those depths, your testosterone can decrease by a lot and your body goes into starvation mode. It holds onto water, it holds onto food because it doesn't think it's going to get it again. And it was a whole ordeal, and it took me a long time to get all the water weight off. It took me a long time.
So for me, for somebody to claim natural going from age 16 to, at this show, he was, 22 or 23. Andrei is about the same age as this guy. And Andrei is admittedly on gear and has the top 0.0001% genetics in the world. Do you really think a guy who is in striking distance of becoming a Mr. Olympia contender at age 23 or whatever Andrei is, do you really think a guy can hang with him at the same age who's natural and isn't on gear? To me, it just seems baffling that anyone would think that this transformation is natural. And if it was really the case, this guy could have easily hopped on gear and become the next Mr. Olympia. So for me to believe that this transformation from age 16 to 25 now is natural is just completely ludicrous. And the results speak for themselves. You look at him on stage against Andrei, a guy with the pinnacle. This guy's the pinnacle of genetics, but Andrei's the elite pinnacle of the pinnacles, where he has just, next level Mr. Olympia caliber genetics, and he's on gear, versus a guy who's supposedly natural and is, giving him a run for his money. He's not as cut, he doesn't have as good of a back, but if he was as cut, and maybe if he, had a bit better back genetics, he probably would have beat Andrei, to be honest, at this show, because his size isn't that far off. He's actually bigger, in my opinion, and has certain, body parts that are, arguably better. So for me, that was kind of just the biggest red flag in itself. He's competing against the best in the world here. They're about the same age. They've been training for about the same amount of time. And there's just no way that Andrei is the one who's on gear and this guy's natural. And they're both, placing within striking distance of each other. So anyways, take from that what you will. Obviously, Obviously, I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think Marino is natural? Do you think this is achievable naturally for him in particular based on his genetics that you've seen from 16, him competing against Andrei, the placing he got, his progression to this point? Let me know what you guys think. Also, drop a like and comment. Helps the algorithm when you guys do that, so it's much appreciated when you do. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_more dates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, wherever I am. Talk to you guys soon.